hold the meeting to it.
Here's the agenda. Okay, call the order of the October 11th meeting of Long River Community Council. We can't ask for approval, so we'll wait on those. Everyone has gotten my chair's report. I'll accept any questions at any time. Ira, do you want to give a board report?
No. What? You said do I want?
No, we're on camera, it's good.
I asked the question, yeah. I mean, the meetings are public, everyone sees them. I mean, as far as, one of the issues ongoing is the performance of the railroad. There's always a lot of stuff in the papers about it. I think their action plan's a good plan. We haven't really seen results. There's always something that's a problem. You would think that Ronkonkoma branch service should be better. I don't know about Ronkonkoma branch because of the second track. We'll see as things move forward. There's a problem with the diesel fleet. They're replacing the traction motors. I don't know if anyone's experienced problems on that. As far as board representation for Long Island, there's only one person and me, is Mitch Ballard and me, and there's probably not gonna be a Nassau County rep until June, I would guess, but, the state senate moves quickly or whatever, I guess we'll see somebody from Nassau County on the board. I think that long term, it's a pretty long time, it won't be a rep, I think it'll have an impact. Well, there's a lot of good projects coming out. The third track is supposed to be on time, that's something that, is not over. PTC is something I think we have to watch for, because as much as, it's good that it adds safety to some extent, probably not as much as spending all that money deserves, it's probably gonna have some passenger impacts when it's implemented. I think, Washington branch is the first branch, you should have it by late December or January. It'll be the only branch that'll have PTC fully operational in January. That'll meet the FRA guidelines, and other branches will come on, but I think that there's an anticipation, and we'll see how this works out, that they may have to add some time to the schedule, because I think there'll be a breaking in period. So that's something for us to look for, that PTC will have an on-time performance impact, or even, well, just a passenger impact, because there'll be time added. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Yeah, one more of a comment than a question. I think the railroad or MTA should do a little bit more advertising, so to speak, regarding positive train control. If you look at New Jersey Transit, they're constantly issuing press releases about service changes or whatever is happening. Maybe the railroad isn't doing it because they don't need to make any service changes as a result of positive train control, but at least it's out there to the public that, hey, we're doing this, and this is why certain trains are affected, and yada, 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 and this is our status, and we hope to,
Right now, they don't anticipate, well, as of the last month's briefing, there was discussion of this, and so I think maybe in the next month or two, they're gonna go public with telling people there's gonna be some passenger impacts on it, because it's unsure exactly what that'll be. New Jersey Transit's faced with a different problem. They're very behind. They've taken a lot of equipment out of service, much more equipment out of service at the last minute in order to meet the FRA guidelines. The FRA guidelines are that all the equipment has to be PTC ready. It doesn't mean that every line has to have PTC on it, but that's that's the FRA rules. So that's New Jersey Transit's problem, which is why they're seeing passenger impacts now. They're behind the game. The Long Island Railroad and Metro North are not, in that almost all their equipment, as we stand now, is PTC equipped. It will all be PTC equipped by December. They're rotating them around the maintenance, but both railroads, I don't know what New Jersey Transit's first line is going to be, but both railroads will see a problem. As far as PTC goes, and some of this safety stuff, whatever, it's Amtrak supposedly has PTC in the entire Northeast Corridor. That's not really true. Because of the interoperability difficulties of running, Amtrak system is a little bit different than the system Long Island Railroad has, but they can run together. Just have to make sure they do. The Harold area and the East River tunnels will not be PTC. It's not now, and it won't be in January. It probably won't be for. It may not be till the end of next year because of making sure that it works and doesn't have a severe passenger impact for both railroads. So that's an issue. The other issue, since we're talking about PTC, is what I'd like to see is for them to move to the next step and equip the terminals, including Jamaica, with a positive stop type system, maybe an alternate signal system. You could even put in what they put on CBTC or something like that. There's other things out there that other railroads are looking at and using. Europe uses some of this stuff. Because right now, when this is done, the PTC, You could have a 50-mile-per-hour collision in Penn Station, you could have a 15-mile-per-hour collision in Jamaica now. You know, 50 mile per hour doesn't seem very fast, but if you're standing in a train and it smacks another train, you're gonna have.
We had a 5-mile-an-hour collision in Brooklyn, and people were injured.
Right, at the
Yeah.
post, right. So you know, PTC is a federal mandate, you know, and the railroad will have to meet that, and both railroads will, and a lot of money was spent on it.
Can I ask you a little bit, if it's okay, about
Yeah, go ahead.
equipping the stations, or doing something at the stations, like what's your,
We've
At the terminals, at
We
the,
have brought it up many times in public, but there's no solution to that, and they don't give us any answers to that. But we have brought it
well, I've asked it at the board, in fact, there's been some procurements for New York City Transit as not alternates, but a different type of CBTC system which requires less infrastructure. And nowhere in there does it mention applying that to the commuter railroads. I think there's a lot of application to the commuter railroads there for the major terminals. The reason why, they have to run trains very close together,
right,
and PTC wouldn't allow for that at decent speeds. Now, on the subway system, the system they've installed on the L and on the 7, on just about finished on the 7 line, does allow for that. You can run trains very close to one another, they just have to be running at slow speeds. And a computer assists and makes sure that they don't run into each other. That's exactly what you want to do in Jamaica, Penn Station, and Brooklyn, and Grand Central, excuse me, let's move Metro Line. So I think that's something maybe, you know, going forward, we should start to push for. I am going to be doing that at the board level, you know, because I think this was still, the MTA was still functioning in this, you know, someone's looking at all this technology, and it might help the railroads, transit's looking, and no one's looking at it for that purpose. At least no one's telling anybody else they are, if they are. So I think that's something I'd like to push for in the next few months.
Whenever we've been asked about PTC over the years, that's always our comeback. It doesn't fix the issue at the station. So we've been out there on it, but we have a suggestion that'd be even better.
Yeah, and you know, we already have automatic train control, you know, with cab signaling, so PTC offers a little bit more than that, but I think if you're gonna spend all this money and buy all the spectrum, you could have gotten more for it than what we got for it. But that's because the stuff 2 years ago really wasn't available, so we're with this.
I hope this isn't a stupid question, but is all PTC the same? I mean, like, is our positive train control compatible to Amtrak's positive train control? Because they are responsible, if I'm not mistaken, from Harold on in through the East River tunnels and into, so
Well,
that's their system.
right.
Versus our system, they do marry, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
They wanna make sure of that, and in theory, they should work together, right?
Okay.
At the end, we got it from in there.
Because
But
they're procuring
as
it
a
separately
practical
from
matter,
us,
as a
so.
practical matter, there may be difficulties, just like there are difficulties right now in implementing PTC on both railroads. I mean, it's a new system, there's the blocks we have, the signal blocks we have are tighter than most railroads. We try to run trains closer together than most railroads, so it creates some different issues, and, you know, how PTC will work, and so that we don't lose capacity because of PTC. But, you know, they've been working long and hard on this and pushing the contractor to get it done.
And can I just ask a question? Are you talking about the wideband or the broadband that they're looking at?
Yeah, yes, that's right, for transit, yeah.
so plumbing wideband to the commuter.
I don't think you really have, by the way, I don't think they have to. They could put in they could put in a, you know, a CBT type system in the terminals and in Jamaica. It just, whatever. Jamaica is, no matter what you do with Jamaica, it's difficult and challenging because it's so complex, so.
Do you have any suggestions for us to assist in moving that ahead?
Well, we might want to do a letter or something to the chairman, or, you know, to say that we think these things should be, you know, the Long Island Communities Council would like to see us move forward in real safety and take advantage of what technology is being looked at.
Would you be our point of contact for staff as we write that?
Sure.
Well, maybe we'll do a letter, maybe we'll do a release, we'll figure out the best.
Yeah, maybe that's good. You know, we could do that.
Okay, next, anything
Keep
else?
us relevant.
Right,
Anything else?
No.
I wanted to bring up one thing. I mentioned the railroad, but we should probably keep a track of some of these things. I had gotten calls, as you know, White Edge is now new, the new station opened up. I got 3 emails today, one from my son, who used it for the first time, saying, and he's not a regular commuter, he doesn't know. So the announcements will say, you know, the next train to Penn Station will be on track 1A, the train to Macomb will be on track 2B. He's like, well, I don't know which is 1A, which is 2B, because there's no signs that say what. I mean, you may know west and east if you're doing it every day, you know that, but people that come in aren't gonna know what that means. So I did mention to Hector, but and it was on the phone, but maybe we should do a follow-up and make sure all the stations that they're redoing now, that they're doing that on, in the second track area, have that out there, so you'll know what
right.
track they're supposed to go to.
You mean there's no signs?
There's no signs that say, they'll announce, they'll have the oral and the screen,
Well-
and then there's announcement.
At least they're keeping commuters' lives interesting,
So I think
I
that
suppose.
all the stations there should be double checked and make sure that
No signs.
there's a way of knowing what you're looking for,
That's interesting.
so. Usually we do a staff report next where, if there's any emails you've gotten, or
Okay.
a trend of emails that writers have been sending in to us, an issue maybe we need to know about, or any projects that we should know about.
Well, I think on the first project, right, so you've recently hired me as the new executive director of
I didn't
PCAC.
want to think because people, the next meeting will be
Yeah.
a whole big major introduction.
Right, so I'm looking forward to continuing to work with you or until you depart, working with you as well. And staff is really excited about some of the things that we've been talking about internally and ways that we can work together better and address some of the concerns and the needs and the issues that we talked about yesterday, but also moving forward to ensure that you're represented and that we address any holes that you feel have been there in the past. So have we gotten emails or phone calls? I haven't seen any, but that doesn't mean there haven't been any. Are you familiar with if we've gotten any?
I think we'll have to check with Deborah. She checks the general email. And then if we get informed on that, then we can take action on timely emails and.
So I apologize for not
So
having
just you
that,
would
but
know,
we'll
so
do
the
that.
meetings usually, it's like, not all, it's like, you've gotten a bunch of, so we know kind of topics that people are
Right.
kind of aware, we should be following up on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Larry?
Larry,
Still
there?
Yep, I'm here.
Any questions?
Nothing yet. I just got myself on mute, so you don't have any feedback.
Anything you could tell us about your community? What's going on?
Nothing. There's a lot of work and construction going on at Belmore. It's crazy because, you know, the way they're doing it, it's tough for people to get dropped off, but, you know, hopefully it'll clear up. They're telling me it's going to be done within a month, so.
What are they doing there?
What are they,
Hector, I think, could probably give you a better, but they're basically rebuilding, resurfacing, doing new waiting rooms and things of that nature. So they've taken up a lot of space where people normally get dropped off, things of that nature.
so they're working downstairs now, right? Because the upstairs is complete, if I'm not mistaken, because.
Well, they're upstairs too, because they've got the waiting room is closed and it's boarded up, and they're doing whatever they're doing up there.
Okay, because I know all 12 cars are platforming now, where they weren't for a while. It was like 6 and 6. So I guess they got the platforms done, they just didn't finish the waiting rooms.
No, the waiting room is right now, it's encased in wood, wonderful blue-colored wood, and they're working at them there too. And I've looked, they actually are doing work.
How's the,
They're leaving to doing work.
how's the parking situation? Because I remember last time you were reporting about it was a fundraiser for,
Construction stuff that they're doing, but, you know, parking's gonna be an issue in every station that we've got. It just keeps getting worse because more people are taking the train. There's no place to park and there's nowhere to go. There was an option for the railroad to get a big chunk of land, but they refused to do it. They didn't want to pay the money. So Crunch Fitness took it instead.
oh wow. That hurts.
They go out of business pretty quickly.
Yeah, 100+ spots.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah, I would like to follow up, but we should need to send, I think, an official letter, again, requesting the waiting room hours for every station. Because I know like White Inch, the old station used to be open 24 hours. And like the other day when my son called me, I said, go to the waiting room, she said, it's closed. This was late afternoon. So, they may have changed them again, I think we've always usually asked for them with the opening and closing, or every waiting room, because there's some that close, I found last time at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Patchogue closes at 2
Yeah.
o'clock.
Yes.
Patchogue closes early.
I'll tell you, we had a history on this, but we'll go through, we fought this fight, we
Yeah.
won, and then we backtracked.
Then we've been back, yeah, because they don't like leaving them open, because
But they don't
people,
tell us. even
People
tell us.
live there.
yeah.
And what station?
Every station.
Every single one?
But if you just close them for
This
2
is
hours
why,
at night, it was
which is new,
fine,
which is
right?
new. I don't know, but,
All right, there's one over here if you want.
the old excuse used to be that they had to close ones that they had to manually close or they couldn't remotely close. So those had to be closed at a certain time, right?
Yeah, when the staff go left.
So I'm just hoping that the new room,
You know.
they made it so that it'd be easier to close and not make it harder to close.
Right,
I hope, all this money they're spending on waiting rooms.
But
I think the winter readiness, and maybe part of the autumn, the fall as well, is to keep them open as long as possible, but we're not there yet.
I think if we start with what they are posted now,
Right.
because we should start from there and see how bad they are or how
Yeah.
okay they are.
And there are some things I think we should question. And I'll just use Patchogue as an example. The reason they said, well, we had to close it early is vagrants and vandalism, whatever. I don't really notice much in the way of vandalism. You do occasionally see vagrants. But for the longest time, it was open till 8 o'clock at night. And then they went back to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There's no reason they shouldn't be able to keep it open till 8 o'clock at night. And the railroad, if they're concerned about that kind of thing, they can reach out to local municipalities. In our case, the Village of Patchogue has code enforcement people.
Right.
I know Paul Pontieri personally, they would keep a closer eye on the station if it meant that they could have the station open for an extra 6 hours,
Just
from
not to
2
play,
o'clock to 8 o'clock.
not to play devil's advocate, just so you know the railroad's position usually when we say that is, it's the town that's asking them to close it down earlier.
Oh,
So, just be prepared, that's usually what their answer is, because of the vacancy problem, because of the problems. And they
I'll check with Paul
they worry about
on this,
security.
you know.
In general,
Yeah.
that's always what they say, they're the ones asking us to close down because for safety reasons.
I mean, that would be good to know if that's something that he had asked. I mean, I've been at that station waiting for a taxi, and I guess they moved a bus stop, or they moved.
Oh, yeah, they did a whole
cars.
reconfiguration. We lost one of our exits to the parking lot because they put buses over there.
And now there's a large group
Yeah.
of regulars who sit there on the steps, going up to the platform and drink. And I watched an altercation evolve with the police that were happening there for no reason, except for, they were sitting there drinking bottles of Fireball,
Yeah.
which they would have been doing, I'm sure, in the station house. So, but they do need more enforcement.
Yeah. And then there's lots of local municipalities that they can help out all along the line. So it's just
Yeah, that's it, let's get the hours first and that's what,
yeah.
start from there and let's go, station by station.
So do you want us to, prepare that letter?
Yeah, or even just ask, even just ask them, generally they give it to us once we ask.
All right, so I'll just send them an email.
Just make sure we're on an updated one, we really wanna know, what all the new waiting rooms, what the hours are, because we may have changed them.
Right.
Anything else in your area?
Yeah, well, one thing that maybe under the new regime we can change. In the past, and this has been going on since I've been on the council in 2001, we'll bring up a topic, it'll be brought to the railroad, okay, we'll get back to you, and it dies. I think we need to develop some sort of system that we follow up, that we record, these are the questions we asked, and then go back and review that maybe we didn't get a appropriate response or positive response. A lot of times the railroad just likes to let things die. I'll bring up one that's, personal thing with me, is we've had a number of issues where trains miss platforms. Not the complete train, but first part of the first car is off, they have to shut off the first car. We have had a couple of situations where the crew hasn't actually caught it, and the doors have opened over nothingness. We've been very fortunate that no one got seriously injured, actually no one fell out and got injured, but we've asked the railroad, do you record these? You know, we'll ask the railroad, actually, does the crew record them? How do you track this, how do you know? And, okay, we'll look into it, or we'll talk to the crew or whatever. And you never get a positive response back, you just kinda let it lie. And we've also asked in the past, okay, what's the penalty? If something like, if someone's negligent and, first car's off the platform and they open the doors, what, oh, we can't tell you that, it's a personnel issue. No, we're not asking for that John Jones, conductor number
What's the
1683,
policy, right?
got 7 days without pay. We're not asking that. We're just saying that the crew was disciplined, one member, we don't know who the engineer is, we don't know.
Right.
But we should be able to get some feedback that the railroad is taking appropriate disciplinary measures. We don't need to know the names of people, that's none of our business, we don't care, but you'd like to know that they're not just getting a slap on the wrist, like, hey, don't do that, But again, it just kinda dies, and, it's just something I think we should just stay on top of.
On the same note, I'll bring up what's happened with the letter we did in April about the cameras.
Cameras.
And I spoke to the, and weeks ago, I guess it was, when I'm told, I repeated to him that we hadn't gotten, and that we need to get something, and after 2 weeks, we still haven't gotten something. So at some point, I'm tired of asking, you may have to go to the next railroad meeting, but publicly. I gave them enough opportunities, I've now asked them twice about a response. And I think the riders are entitled to it.
Yeah.
And I've gotten no response to our letter, and so, we did a press conference with Senator Schumer initially 2 years ago on this issue. It's not like it's a new way we ask, I asked these questions back then in open press conference with a follow-up letter, and we didn't get an answer. Now that they're installed, I think we're definitely entitled to an answer, so I think we should figure out how we wanna do that. We wanna do a press conference with Senator Schumer, we wanna do just a release, we wanna just feed it to the paper, we've gotta figure out what we wanna do.
Yeah.
But I think that we've given enough.
It's not like we're blindsiding anybody.
Right.
The last time I said, if I don't, we're gonna have to go
Yeah.
public, I let it out there.
What kind of response are you looking for? I know that there were some specific.
We asked the letter questions,
Right.
specific questions.
My concern would be that now they're gonna come back and say it's a homeland security issue, and therefore we can't give you any information about the locations and.
No, policy.
No, we didn't ask, I asked a question like, how long is the video kept for?
Right.
Who has access to the video? Is it sound, is it silent?
Okay,
Those are
right.
issues that we're certainly entitled to.
Yeah.
If an accident occurs.
My understanding is
does
you
the person
subpoena
or
to get it, or they give it to law enforcement, control. But I'm not 100% sure. I think we should I think we should ask for the policy one more time, give them 30 days to respond, and
I
then.
did that 2 weeks ago.
30 days?
Oh, you just, well, wait 2 more weeks,
I asked for it. in
2 more
response to a
weeks, and then
letter.
give it to the newspapers, I don't know.
I mean, as far as locations,
That's what I was talking about, we need to follow, because they'll just
Yep.
not.
they'll just not, and just hope that we just go away and forget about it.
I don't know what to do now.
As for locations, the locations are very noticeable.
You can see it, you don't.
Yeah.
And you can see them, it's not, however, and maybe this is a union issue, that is why the railroad doesn't really, there was questions about whether or not to be a camera in the engineer's cab.
Right.
And, well, I don't know that, and I haven't had, haven't peeked in there, see if there is one there. And a lot of that came up because there was a couple of situations, there was one where a guy drove a train, on this one avenue.
An engineer's friend.
An engineer's friend, where if that was recorded in the cab, I mean, everybody would know, The only reason the railroad found out was because one of the riders on a particular train reported it, and then they verified that it was in fact true. But I know that the engineers union, they seem to be, like some sort of invasion of privacy.
Well, this is how it all started, that's how it
Yeah.
all
It's
started.
collective bargaining.
Yeah, so But it would be nice to know whether they have it or not. I mean, just a yes or no question. We don't have to get into the
Well,
whole.
if I can just jump in, as far as, maybe a good project to do is we can go over the last year, pull out our letters to the railroad, and then see what has and hasn't been responded to, and then we can do it, and go from there.
I mean, it's just like the letter that you guys had written in November, and I think you finally got a response to it.
Because again, I asked you for it again, and the answer, and there was nothing in that letter, it said
Right.
nothing.
Yeah, I read it the other day, and I think that, especially now with these, like, there's a lot of rejiggering we're doing in the office. And so I think that, you know, that we are going through and creating new policies and procedures. And I just wrote down that it'd be helpful for us to have a policy on follow-up and how and when we conduct that, so that we don't let too much time pass by, so that we can keep up with that.
This is what happens when you get rid of tickler files. Right?
Yeah.
But we can certainly create an automatic calendar item kind of type of.
You can do it electronically, right, if something comes up in 30 days.
Yeah, because we've had some,
Google's doing it to me.
well, we
Yeah, me
always.
too.
It's kinda creepy, isn't it?
You haven't responded to this in 4 days.
But yes, I
Yeah.
know.
Would you like to follow up now?
Thanks, Mom. Gee,
Right.
Well, I know that we generally like to respond to, or talk about general things that happen along the railroad. Every once in a while, there may be a specific incident.
Right.
And what happens is, if you don't get a response in a timely fashion, then it dies. And I had a situation where we pulled into Babylon.
How you doing?
Hello.
How you doing?
How are you?
I'm good.
You must be Marilyn.
Marilyn, yes.
We're getting towards the end unfortunately, but come on, jump in, please.
Jump in. So we get to Babylon, there's no connection, no announcements, no nothing, everybody gets off the train, what's going on, where's our next train, patch, oh, nothing on the book.
Right.
And we question the railroad on this. What happened? You know, why did the train just pull out, or there's no communication, no nothing? And it kind of lapsed, and to this day, we still don't know what happened in that particular situation.
Well, that particular, I don't know.
Yeah, I cooled my
But-
heels for an hour because,
Right.
you know,
But
going
I'm
out there,
told-
if you missed the 6:30,
Right.
the next one's 7:30.
I brought this issue up, because it doesn't just happen once, it
Yeah.
happens a number of times. And the generic answer to this question is, of course, well, the train had to leave because it's supposed to, wherever it's going, it's supposed to come back, and, you know,
Yeah.
it'll just be a cascading late thing. So, but I said, well, you know, well, how late, and how much do you hold it, and is there a policy? No, we really don't, we don't have like a firm policy about, you know, 15 minutes,
Yeah.
it depends upon the situation. But, to your point, the real point here is no one makes any announcements about that. You're out there, you're out there, all, who knows what's going on, kind
Yeah.
of thing, and that, you know, and they've admitted it, they've admitted that's a problem, that, and they don't wanna leave passengers, you know, wondering, hey, what's going on, but it still seems to happen. I think announcements are better.
I think announcements are a good idea.
No, they're better today
Oh,
than
they're
they
better, I
were
thought.
2 years ago or a year ago. But you know, there's always gaps.
Well, the bottom line is, they always say, traditionally over the last couple of years, the last 3 presidents, it takes them 4 to 5 months to respond to a letter.
Oh, that.
Okay, well, that's the issue that we're dealing with, so.
Yeah.
And now when I spoke to Phil about that really was too
Yeah.
long, he said he's still answering letters from prior president letters. But I think that we need to talk to them, and that we have to be in a little bit different boat.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, we're different, we're not just, you know, somebody, we're legislatively mandated, and they're supposed to respond to these letters. And I think we've given time, he was new, and we spoke about it, but he's now been there long enough that we have to set up some kind of a system with them where our letters are responded to much quicker than they are now. Because we don't wanna have to go public, the reason we're sending a letter is to keep it internally, but they're forcing us to go public, because that's, we get a quicker answer if we go public than if we keep it private. I'd rather keep it private if we can, so we'll have to talk to them about what the best they can do, because I think 4 to 5 months is way too long, because the issue's over by then.
So I was planning to go out and sit down with Hector and see what their, to see what their operation is like, and you know, go to his house, as it were. But I think that these are really good issues to raise with him and sit down
I
and
got
have
that
that.
directly with Phil, so,
I'm sure.
you know, if that's, so Hector really can only,
But I can say to
Answer.
Hector, so I'm new,
right.
and, you know, I'm still learning.
You can play
and I
the new
know-
card.
Yes, I'm.
Remember your academy, remember your academy, give them your secrets
Right,
to everybody.
but I am new. So, there's a lot that I,
Right, you wanna-
Yeah, no.
hoping to know.
Yeah.
And especially as I'm seeing the different cultures in each of the operating agencies.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure Metro North's gotta be different
So,
from
you
our
know,
road.
and then looking and being able to cross compare, I think has been really beneficial, at least so far.
Well, his attitude is, you know, he likes to respond to everything personally. He responds to commuters' phone calls personally, and that's great, and we're supportive of that, but we have to fit into a different area
Yes.
than that, and that's what we have to work out with them, because otherwise we're gonna be going back to the days when we were doing press conferences once a week,
Yeah.
and that, you know, that's what we used to do, and that's not what anybody really wants.
Right.
But it got things done back then.
Right.
Because
Well, now there's
it was
a-
in every paper, every station, it was everywhere, everything we wanted to do. Which was good for our council, but it's, I think we'd all rather accomplish it in
Yeah.
a different way.
Absolutely.
Um,
So we'll take a look at the correspondence, over the last year and see what has and hasn't, and see if there's,
Or maybe go back a little bit more than a year, because this past year's been unusual. Do you wanna give us anything about your home station and what's happening in your area?
Yeah, right now, the people, well, you know, some of the passengers are having an issue with not the double track, obviously, but the fact that we have to cross over the tracks to catch the train on the north side. In the morning, it's usually like more of an issue in the morning because everybody's running around, they're trying to park their cars and want to catch that one train. And so they're just concerned with inclement weather, if someone, you know, what if someone slips? And it's just more of an inconvenience, so I think some of them are trying to get together to fill out a petition to see.
So what do they want?
They would like it for everything to go back to the other side, to the south side,
which your station?
Central Islip. So I think it's Central Islip, Ronkonkoma, and then there's another station in there on the line that where in the morning, they all have to cross over the tracks.
Because everyone has to cross over the tracks because the inbound track is on the north side. The solution to this problem is they can't go on trains on the south track.
That's the way they were before.
Well, there was only one track.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
I mean, I don't know what else they're planning on doing.
well, it would be an overpass, that's what's done everywhere else. I mean, not everywhere else, but that's what's done if there's a high volume of passengers,
So
and
they
you don't
don't
want
have
them
an overpass,
crossing.
or they do?
They do have an overpass
But
on
not
that.
right there where people wanna cross, so
Yeah.
use the railroad crossing,
Yeah.
of course.
And is it accessible, the crossing that they do, the overpass that they do have?
It's I think, from what I remember, there's only the one at the very end, further west on that.
Is that, do you know if that's heavily used?
Yeah, I mean, they do use it, but it's just the idea of having, I guess
Yeah, no,
because
it's-
they've been used to just, you know,
Yes, I know, there's
boarding.
right, they board right at that side, but then,
Well, the
So
majority of the
what-
parking in
so what would
Central
those-
Islip